Today we're going to start off with some titanium white, phthalo blue, violet, cad red, cad yellow, burnt sienna, raw umber, and lamp black. We're going to do it a little bit differently today. We're going to take a small little palette knife, this little guy right here, and we're just going to scrape some paint and actually add it directly to the palette. This already has a layer of titanium white mixed with a little bit of linseed oil. So let's go ahead and start putting some of the color on there. Grab some violet. More violet. Going to take some of the cad yellow, mix it with a little bit of phthalo blue. We want a medium green. Not too light, not too dark. This way we could go ahead and do the darker colors for shadowing for grass, and we could do lighter color, lighter shades for highlights. So we want a mid-tone. And again, we're just going to use the palette knife right now. Just grab a little bit and put it right in through here. So let's start making this make some shape here, or helping it take some shape. Grab a little bit more, mix up some more of the green, get some more of that. Put it right through here. Trying to have a little bit of fun, changing it up a little. I don't normally apply my paint with a palette knife like this. It's usually all done with a paintbrush. I'm just trying to mix it up. I'm going to wipe off the palette knife. Now, I think I want to add a little bit more of the phthalo blue. Just grab just a little bit. We're going to put it up here. This is going to be the sky. And a little bit more of the violet. And let's put it here. So now with my 2-inch brush, it's got a little bit of the titanium white with the linseed oil on it. I'm just going to go through the sky in circular motions and blend all this out. So it's okay to have deeper areas, deeper blue, lighter blue, and mixing and stuff like that. That's fine, but we definitely want to blend it out. Now because we have the linseed oil and the titanium white base underneath, it's actually blending. It's actually going on nice and smooth. We don't want to touch this yet. We'll bring it all the way down to there, finish our sky, and then we'll start blending the violet. Now it's easy to move the paint around. Just trying to make it look like a sky, a nice blue sky. And right through here, let's go ahead and start with the lighter areas, and then we're going to blend it into the darker areas. And just using a corner of the brush, get that all nice and blended. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring this down a little. Try not to touch the green. Now, let's go back to the palette knife and let's grab a little bit more of the violet, and let's put a light coating in through here. Just scraping it on, not putting on a whole lot. And again, we're going to go ahead and blend it. We'll blend it up to about right up to the edge of where the grass is going to be. Laying the brush flat like this can actually help me get closer to the edge. And right now we're just kind of blocking in the painting with oil painting. You see me do this with acrylic paint. The benefit of doing it with acrylic paint is it actually dries faster. So in this case, we're going to be dealing with a wet on wet canvas. I'm going to take my 1.5 inch brush and let's just go ahead and rough this in a little bit better to fill in the gaps. We're not really doing much detail yet. We're just still kind of blocking this in. So just tap. And you'll start seeing the painting come to life. So you got the sky. This is actually going to be water in through here. And this is going to be a road. And the road's going to go around this bend. It's not going to go in water here. And this will go in like that. And again, just filling it in. We'll be adding detail here in a little bit. Now, if you want to start creating the shape of this, you can actually see a little bit of the brush strokes with the deviations of the paint here. So if you want to, it'll actually help you figure out how you want your landscape to go. Just go ahead and tie it in. Do it any way you like. I want it to slope down. There we go. And this side, we'll do the same thing for this one, but just not as much. I don't know if you can actually see those brush strokes. Not really necessary at this point, but kind of helps it start forming. So I wash out my brushes in odorless mineral spirits. That actually does really well. What I'm going to do now is take the 1-inch brush, tap it directly into the titanium white, and then start putting in some clouds up here. So of course you got reflection in the water, got some light spots, and of course if you can mimic these clouds in the water, that goes a long ways. So now back to the 2-inch brush. Just going to use the corner for now, and we're going to blend in the bottom. So in a circular motion, just blend the bottom of the clouds. I'm going to use the bottom part. Actually seems to work better for me. You can switch it up any way you want. Okay. Put this down. Going to grab a paper towel and finish blending these. And then if you think you got a little too much paint on your brush, use the paper towel to get it off. And then we're going to blend a lot of this, because this is going to be the reflection in the water. And just lightly touching over. Okay, wiping off the excess. And now to blend these, I'm just going to lightly swoop up. Kind of like air is actually moving these upwards. Pretty simple. Now if you blend them too much, they disappear. So try not to go there. Worst case scenario, if you do blend them too much and they start to disappear, you could always go ahead and go back in with some more titanium white and add them back in. But it's always nicer when you don't have to. I'm going to take a little yellow. Cad yellow, cad red, just a little bit of cad red. Cad red goes a long ways. So we got a little orange over here. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit more yellow. See, I added quite a bit of yellow and it didn't seem to do a whole lot there. A little bit. Okay. Now got this cool little tool that helped me do straight lines. So I'm just going to put it right about there. And then I want to make sure this horizon line is straight. And then we're going to go ahead and add the yellow. So doesn't have to be perfect. It is nice though when it's straight. Okay. So going back to my brush that I use for the titanium white, we're just going to go ahead and blend this in here really lightly. So this will be way back in the background. And try not to touch the green. I want to take a paper towel and wipe off my palette knife. I do not want any spare paint on here. Now I'm going to go through the violet. Grab a little violet. Grab a little cad red. And a little titanium white. Now we're going to grab just a little bit on the edge, and let's go ahead and put some of this color through here. Some down in the water. Try to keep this equal distance so it's kind of like mirroring what you have on top. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does help when it's relatively accurate. Add a little there. Let's add some more of the violet, a stronger violet. So a deeper color, we're just going to run it right through here. So I went ahead and cleaned off my 1 inch brush, and now really lightly I'm going to start with this top. I'm just going to blend this. Then we'll do the same thing on the bottom, and again try to stay off the yellow part. Then we'll blend right through this, the darker violet. Water, for the most case, seems to have a better effect if you keep the lines pretty straight. What I'm doing now is if I see any brush strokes, just trying to blend those out. Now back to my small palette knife, I'm going to go into a little bit of titanium white and just put a little bit on the edge of the actual palette knife. Just on the edge. And now, right in through here. Add a little white to that. Now I'm going to use my paper towel, but I'm going to use this smaller brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and blend this in there. So, and again, back and forth, so it's easier to control. And go ahead and take a little right through here, add some more clouds. And again, just blend it. Again, cleaning my brush with mineral spirits, odorless mineral spirits. So now, I want to go ahead and take my palette knife, take some more of the cad yellow, only going to need some more of that, and a little phthalo blue. So now we're going to make a little bit darker green. So we're just going to go ahead and put this right in through here. Try to leave some of the yellow. You don't want to cover it up. And back to the smaller brush, we're just going to go ahead and tap this in to make it look like trees and stuff way in the background. Just lightly tap. I'm using a small fan brush. I'm just going to grab a little bit of this green paint here and bring it down into the water. So I just washed it out with mineral spirits. I want to try to dry this as much as possible. So make sure your paper towel soaks it all up. If you bend it over like this and kind of squeeze on the brushes or the bristles to actually pull out all the excess. Okay. And now we're going to lightly go over them to blur it. So let's go ahead and we'll blur these lines. This will make it look like reflection. Now with a regular palette knife, I'm going to take a little bit of the white. It's actually mixed with linseed oil, so it's thin, like liquid white. We're just going to get a small roll and very carefully, kind of right in between where we did those lines and the trees above it, let's put in a water line. And it doesn't have to be really prominent. Just enough to show we got some water back there. So now, to detail this out a little bit more and to make it so it's not so prominent right here, I'm just going to take it and rub it in. That's a small thin water line. It kind of mixes with the colors in the background as well. That way it's not so brilliant. There we go. Now I'm going to take the 1-inch brush and let's go ahead and tap it into, this is a dark sienna. Burnt sienna. Now we don't want a whole lot. So we're going to tap this out. And we want it to mix with this purple. But we don't want to blend it. So we're just going to tap it to make it kind of look like little pebbles through here. So we'll start, let's go right through here. And just tap it in. Again, this is just to make it look like there's little pebbles or rocks in here, making this path. And just barely touching the canvas, trying to leave little dots. Kind of like a stipple effect. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of the white and tap into that. I'll take a little bit of the violet. And just get a couple areas with the highlights here. Kind of where the sun might be shining across the rocks. Now we're going to take a little bit of the orange that we made. We'll mix it with a little bit of the yellow ochre. Sorry, raw sienna. raw sienna. We want more of an earthy look, and we'll take a little bit more of the burnt sienna as well. Okay, so a little lighter. Now we're going to go right in through here. We'll start here. And just tapping it in. So the more you tap, the more it blends with the paint underneath. It makes a lot of the details that you put in actually start disappearing. So it makes them finer. So if you want them to be finer and not stand out so much, all you have to do is kind of keep tapping and then they start to disappear on you. Now back to the 2-inch brush, we're going to go ahead and just tap into the green, make it a little darker. And then just tap in some land right in through here. So just tapping in some grass. Over here we'll do the same thing. And let's go right in through here. Going in phthalo blue, making this a little bit darker. And let's go ahead and make a little hill here. We're going to make this darker in through here. Now with the fan brush, let's go a little lighter. And let's just swoop up. We'll make some tall blades of grass. To me right now that's actually a little too yellow, so I'm gonna apply this, and then I'll go back through and blend it a little more, and then I'll start to disappear, make it less vibrant. Don't want it this vibrant. Okay, and right up through here. So the road's going behind this little hill right here. Now I'm going to take my palette knife, take a little lamp black, mix it right there, and a little titanium white on a deep gray. And now we'll take a little bit of the violet and mix it in. When you have the sun shining through and it's shining on the rest of the landscape, if it's in these colors, a lot of times you'll see the ground reflecting these colors as well. So mixing them, I'm just taking a little bit of the violet and put it in here as well. We can even lighten it up just a tad bit. There we go. And now I'll take my thin brush again, the smaller brush, 3/4. Taking a little mineral spirits, I'm going to thin down some of this black. And right now we're going to use a liner brush so we can add some thinner branches and some more detail. So just rolling the brush through the paint. I want to make sure it's thin enough, but I also want to put a tip onto the brush so it's just not all splayed out. We want to try to control this as much as we possibly can. All right, and let's do some smaller branches. Gonna go ahead and mix some more green. So more cad yellow and more phthalo blue. Let's go ahead and mix it with a little bit of the brown. Let's go with that. Gonna take a 1-inch brush and just tap We want a little bit of paint on the end of this brush, but we don't want a big old bunch. Alright, so now we're just going to hit it in certain places and tap in some leaves. Just like that. And it's okay to actually put some leaves out even though you don't have any branches. I always like it when you start seeing the trees go over top of the lakes and the rivers, and gives it more of a three-dimensional look. So I'm going to take my 1-inch brush, just tap into this white. We don't want a whole lot on the brush, so just tap, and then let's try it right through here. We'll put some little flowers up through here. So you want to barely just touch the canvas. If you hit it too hard, you end up with a big old white spot. We want to give the illusion of wild flowers here. We'll do the same for the other side. So I rinsed out the brush and the mineral spirits. Just going to tap into the yellow. And again, we don't want a whole lot. So now we're just going to put a few little highlights on these trees. Make it look like sun shining through. So again, you don't want a whole lot.